Well, hi, everybody. Good morning, afternoon, wherever in the world you are, and welcome to our ongoing series for the Toy Association's virtual event. We're really sorry we're not walking through miles and miles of toys this year, but I think it's a great time for us to reflect as an industry where we're going, where we're headed, and some of the technologies that are becoming more and more ingrained in our world. So today what we're going to do is look at sort of a continuum of technologies that the toy industry should be thinking about incorporating. And we're going to start with the simplest from social media and influencers and go on to some of the more emerging technologies like the metaverse and holographics. And so stick with us. I think you'll find that our speakers have an incredible amount of knowledge and experience. And we're going to get right into hearing about what each one of them does. And I'm going to start with Melissa Hunter. Melissa comes from Family Video Network, and Family Video Network really is squarely in the middle of the social media toy market. So Melissa, why don't you tell us a little bit about what's on your mind as we head into the 2022 toy season?
Thank you so much for having me. I think, it's no secret that influencers have become a very important part of the toy marketing life cycle. And in particular, influencers on YouTube for the last several years, it's just been huge. And there's been some amazing collaborations between just families like my family, filming at their house and doing amazing creative things, and partnering with various toy brands, both for sponsored content and also earned content. And it's become a go-to strategy. But there are changes taking place in particular on YouTube that will potentially negatively impact the way that influencers are working with the toy industry on YouTube. But not to worry, TikTok, who, you can't throw a stick without hitting TikTok or somebody talking about TikTok. They are already, into this whole social shopping thing. It started with book talk, the hashtag book talk, which, out of nowhere, a book that was 4 years old just exploded onto the bestsellers list. And even the author was like, what happened? And it's all because a TikToker, the name of the novel, I think, is It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. And it's a TikTok influencer read the book, liked it, talked about it, hashtag book talk. Other people read it, they shared it, more people start talking about it. And before you know it, you have a bestseller. Now, and they've done TikTok Kitchen, and now it's time for Toy Talk. And so if you go on TikTok and you search the hashtag Toy Talk, you end up bringing up all of these 15-second to 60-second toy unboxings, and they have millions and millions of views. And, the interesting thing there is that at the moment, although TikTok is working on the social shopping integration, at the moment there isn't oh, I want to buy this click, but you can go into that creator's profile. And a lot of them have links to their link tree or different affiliate sites to different shops, where if you're like, wow, this is really cool, I want to buy it, with 2 clicks, you're into a store and putting it into your shopping cart. And circling back to YouTube, they are working, they've done some experimentation with social shopping. They've actually brought in 2 executives to oversee the social shopping on YouTube. So they definitely want to continue to push into that world. They brought in Bridget Dolan from Sephora. And so she's going to be totally focused on shopping on YouTube. But with COPPA, with CARU and all of the different regulations and the things going on YouTube, I'm not sure how viable YouTube will continue to be for the toy industry in terms of social shopping. But I think other platforms like TikTok and Instagram, absolutely, there's a future there for toy companies and social shopping and working with influencers, because it's influencers. It's never the famous people. It's the person you never heard of who just makes really cool videos.
And so what you're seeing is some of these are created by a relationship between the toy company and the
Mhm.
influencer, but some are just, it's an influencer who just loves the toy.
Absolutely. I mean, that's usually how it starts. I mean, that's how I started. We just loved dolls, and that's how
You
it
can see that.
started. Yeah, and it was never intended. We never even knew you could make money. And I think very often people just begin to share a genuine love for something, you know, a specific kind of toy, and they start sharing it on social, and then other people like it, and before you know it, you're an influencer, accidentally or on purpose. And then from there, brands start reaching out to you. Can I send you stuff? If I send you stuff, will you put it on your Instagram, your YouTube, your TikTok? And from there, then as you get even bigger, then you start working on the branded partnerships, where it's more of a collaboration between you, the creator, and the brand to get across all the talking points and the messaging, etc.
Yeah, I definitely want to come back to the role that these platforms are going to have in controlling what kids can and can't do.
Yeah.
Very different than, for example, China, where they are social shoppers from birth to death.
Yes.
And I know that we're figuring this out. So we'll come back to it. But I want to get to Tom Emrich. Tom is with Eighth Wall. Eighth Wall is a browser-based AR and XR um, platform, and people are using it for some incredible applications. And I asked Tom to take his wonderful look at the trends in AR and pull out the ones that are most relevant to the toy industry. So Tom, I'm going to turn it to you. Thank you for being here with us.
Robin, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to talk about augmented reality and toys. I mean, augmented reality is a technology that blurs the line between the digital and the physical, essentially allowing you to use a smartphone, for example, to look at the world and see digital objects and animations in the space in front of you, or even on your face in the case of filters. And what's great about augmented reality is that it is an experience medium, and that goes hand in hand with toys and games, because toys and games are meant to be experienced. And so it's a perfect pairing. Robin, as you mentioned, Eighth Wall is a web-based augmented reality development platform. And so the key here is that using the browser, there is no app required to download for your consumer to engage in augmented reality. They simply need to click a link or scan a QR code on a product package, for example, and they're brought immediately to the browser where they can engage with augmented reality content. And that ability to leverage a URL is very familiar for toy manufacturers, toy makers, marketers, brands. And so there's a number of examples of leveraging web-based augmented reality to allow for consumers to scan a QR code in store, or scan a QR code off product, or scan a QR code on broadcast even, to be, again, sent to the augmented reality experience. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the examples of web-based augmented reality experiences that have been in market. Eighth Wall is a development platform, so everything I'm going to show you is browser-based, but also it has been created by the wonderful agencies and creative development studios and brands that leverage our platform. And I'll make sure I cite them as I move along. We actually on eighthwall.com have now over 300 featured projects from our creative development studios and agencies for you to be able to explore and see what's happening across industry verticals. And I'm going to specifically outline 4 major use cases of web AR in the toy industry. And the first, I'm going to head to Lego. Lego's been quite active with their use of augmented reality, whether that is to enhance physical toy play, and or to allow for consumers to be able to play with the toy before they buy. So it's a lot of product education. So this is an example of a web-based augmented reality experience created by Hoopla Digital for Lego City Roads. And you can see here that this is, again, in the browser, allowing consumers to place Lego sets, digital Lego sets, into their physical space. They are able to construct the roads in various sequences. And once they've created a unit, once they've created the city comes to life, and it's animated. And so this is a really great way for a consumer to get to know the Lego City Roads toy set But there's an added value here, because although in your imagination the Lego city may come to life, it actually doesn't come to life in your physical space. So there's an extraordinary magical feel that augmented reality can bring to toy IP by combining almost like what you're used to seeing in television and movies with the toy set, because the toy set is digital, but again, it feels physical because it's in your space. OMG LOL worked with Air Cards on a very similar experience for their LOL OMG dollhouse. And so you can see here, using the rear facing camera of your smartphone. So this is using 3.5 billion smartphones that is out there. This technology is ready to go and brands are using it. The dollhouse is a digital version of the physical product set in your space. You're seeing the characters from this toy IP come to life. Again, a lot of education on what the product is, but also, again, that added value of leveraging what's unique to digital, which allows for that animation to occur. And we're seeing that same thing with Barbie. Again, a Hoopla example with Barbie Dreamhouse. You're able to set this dream house in your space, see Barbie and her friends interact within the dollhouse. And again, this is really going a long way to educating users, essentially bringing them further down the funnel because they feel as though they have the product in their space already, and increasing that buyer confidence and fun.
So hold that thought for a second, Tom.
Sure.
So I know this industry spent a lot of money on creating apps that were supposed to extend the play of their physical toy, and that turned out to be rather expensive and rather not used as often as they thought. So you feel like because of the ease of the QR code and AR, and because it's not meant solely to extend the play, but also for unboxing, is that what's going to drive business here?
That's right, Robin. Brands and marketers are very excited about using augmented reality, but having to send a user to the App Store to download a specific augmented reality experience that may be tied to a campaign, or may only be expected to be utilized for 1 to 5 minutes. That has become a barrier. But even if it's a longer experience, just that friction of having to go to that app store, you tend to lose that user. So the browser is really well known. It's frictionless. This technology can work across smartphones, so you don't have to build it twice for Android and iOS smartphones. And so, like you're seeing before, allowing consumers to play with the toy before they buy in a digital format is a good use case. But this example here is an in-store example for Kinder, where this is a value add. This is a digital first experience that is like in addition to the toy you get with Kinder Surprise. And so you could also utilize this technology to bring a brand new experience to your IP that is only available via augmented reality. And then I know I'm kind of running out of time, but the last one that I really want to hit home on is the use of packaging. Pizza Hut is a really good example of this. Packaging can come to life and be the toy. So, not only can you have a toy inside the box, but the box can be a toy. I mean, kids love boxes anyways, but now you can take it to the next level. Pizza Hut leveraged image target technology, again, all in the smartphone. You scan the top of the box with the browser open with your camera, and the top of the box becomes a playable 3D Pac-Man game. Very akin to when I was growing up and you went to Pizza Hut and you could play, the Pac-Man game on an actual console. So lots of activity in the space, and I'm excited to continue to discuss with my fellow colleagues here on how technology can enhance the play of toys.
Yeah, I think the two things you've really got going for you, people, certainly if they didn't use QR codes before the pandemic, they are loving them and feel, it's second nature to do everything now. And then this idea of playing with the packaging is just brilliant. And, I think outside of the toy industry, you're also going to find, if sustainability is your thing, you'll be able to find out what's sustainable about the toy, whether the ingredients are good for kids, chokeable parts. I think there's so much you can do with QR codes. So I'm going to move along now, and I'm going to introduce you to Jeremy Whitt. Jeremy is with Seek. Sorry, Jeremy, SeekXR. SeekXR is more than Seek has a lot of different parts, from taking you from the creation of your own metaverse experience, NFTs, and really I'm taking you out sort of further in the galaxy, literally, by introducing you to Jeremy and his galaxy. So take it away, Jeremy.
Yes, thanks a lot. Yeah, Seek actually touches a lot of things, but the reason is because we actually do one thing, and that's infrastructure. We connect the metaverse. That's what Seek is all about. And so although we touch a lot of things, we power the infrastructure that connects all of these technologies together from 3D objects that go into AR, like what Tom was just saying, from 3D objects that go into virtual reality, whether that be the HoloLens, rest in peace, or whether it's the Oculus, Quest, or whether it's just one of the metaverses that is currently out there, and then all the way through to NFTs, which we'll get into in just a second. And so the interoperability between all those is really the problem that we're trying to solve. It's technology that is moving so fast right now. The standards are changing and there are new innovations coming out all the time. We love hearing about some of the stuff that the other panelists have talked about. And that's absolutely fantastic for every toy brand out there. And then for the systems integrators, it can sometimes be a little challenging because of the interoperability amongst all of those different technologies. So there's a couple of pieces that we solve. The first one is helping everything work together across not only the different platforms, technologies, but then also the end user devices, helping do that at scale. But then there's another piece, and that is the operational or the functional or the brand management part of how do you use all of these different tools together. And Seek comes up with those with our SeekXR solutions. And so although it looks like we touch a lot of things, it's all because we're about connecting the metaverse. We're about the infrastructure underneath of all of that. And just a really good example is that Seek has one of the largest 3D marketplaces on the planet right now for building, and we call it SeekXR onboarding. And so all of you organizations out there that are looking, and not all of them, there are some very progressive organizations out there, but a lot of toy manufacturers out there are saying, what should we do first? Or what should we do now? We've dabbled in it for a few years, where we've got some new initiatives in 2021 that are now leading into 2022 budgets. What should we do first? Some of you, you could probably benefit from something that we call SeekXR onboarding or metaverse onboarding. And that's getting your assets 3D modeled using the SeekXR marketplace, and then getting them ready or deployed for whether it's AR, whether it's VR, whether it's in a metaverse, or whether it's NFTs and those different types of things. Which gets us right into the second half of the kind of the Seek universe, and that's NFTs. And the first and most important thing is that Seek is not part of the hype engine or the get rich quick schemes with respect to NFTs. Now that's very exciting and it's super fun, but it's mostly entertainment. What Seek is focusing in on again is that infrastructure about how toy manufacturers and toy companies and brands can use the concept of ownership and access to deploy those technologies in what we call a Trojan horse methodology, where you don't actually expose the technology of cryptocurrency, of wallets, of NFTs. Instead, you talk in the context of your customers and your brand, and you're giving them access to different communities. You're giving them redemption to different types of value or products that you might have, special editions. Now, all of these terms that are very familiar to your customers, that are very familiar to each of your team members within your toy company, as well as just the industry in general. And so we break down NFTs not into the technologies or the blockchains and the marketplaces that everybody likes to talk about. We have this Trojan horse that's all inside the Trojan horse. And what you see is access, this amazing, where we're almost the holy grail of marketing in being able to do one-to-one marketing, affinity set targeting, and then of course redemption. These are Yeah, go
So, I
on.
mean, take us through how it would look for, let's just say I have a plushy dog. I wish I had one here. And I want to turn this into an NFT and a metaverse. So I come to you
Yeah.
with this physical toy.
Yeah, yeah. Excellent. So what you would do is you would come to Seek, and we would sit down with you, and we would come up with an entire marketing strategy, as well as an entire rollout plan, as well as an entire community plan. And that community plan is what we sit down with you. Now, just a really quick, because I want to answer your question there, Robert, is that what we would do is we would take a digital twin or a representation of that dog, maybe modify it to make it unique, and then we would do something called minting of that of that digital asset, not the real one. Your dog stays exactly as it is, but the digital twin is one way, one of many ways that we could then transform that physical asset into the digital world and then provide ownership to that. But that's just the beginning. That's not the value that you as a brand want for your customer. It's not the value that Seek wants to provide to your customer. What we want to do is then take that ownership of that digital asset that you have now allocated to a particular customer, and then transform that into something we call a utility. And utility gives you access to special events. It gets you access to promotions. It gets you access to other different editions. And it also gives this concept of redemption, where I can use it as a ticket. I can to a physical event or something along those lines. And the gamification and the collections concept, we call it leaderboards, is just unlimited. And we're working with some amazing retail brands on coming up with really transforming their entire product line, not physically. The physical line extensions, brand strategies are all identical, but putting on top of that a digital layer that says these, somebody showed a Lego demo earlier, someone showed a doll collection earlier. You as a brand may have 100 different SKUs with respect to a particular set of dolls. What you could do is say, okay, we're going to create digital twin NFTs of every single one of these. And as a child or a customer buys those NFTs, they will be on a global leaderboard that will show their points or their score in collecting that set. And it creates this momentum that it's more than just playing and interacting with the toy, but it also creates this community where I can say, I have 10 of the 100 SKUs, or 10, they're not going to say SKUs, of course. The child is going to say, I'm going to have 10 of the dolls. I need the next one so I can have 11, so I can have more than my friend who is across the street because she has 12 of the dolls. And then there was somebody else in some other area that is just obsessed, and she has all 100 dolls. And then there's the ability then to do one-to-one marketing to that person and give recognition that, oh, look at this girl that has collected all 100 dolls. And that creates content. That content that can be shared across social media, expanding the reach of that brand throughout the community, and giving them another use. It's a completely, it's almost a tangential use of that product without creating a new product.
Right.
You're able to expand your reach through social media. And so that's how we're using NFTs instead of selling digital JPEGs of cartoon characters.
Yeah, like a Bored Ape. No, that was really well said and really inspiring. And there's nobody knows about obsessive collectibles better than the toy industry. And anybody who remembers back to their childhood, whatever you collected, I guarantee you collected. And so, being able to
we actually, yeah, that's a fantastic point. I want to stress this is that right now toys are for kids. But we believe that toy manufacturers that come to Seek, we're going to transform toys into an adult collector obsession and create enormous communities around those brands and revitalize them to the adult community. And they can relive their childhood. They can connect with other like-minded affinity set and really have the toys be open to a new market
Yep.
of adults.
We call them
NFTs.
kidults. They've never
Kidults,
grown up.
yes.
Yes, they've never grown up. And we're going to talk about them because they're posing some problems for the kid part of the industry, but we'll come back. But I really do want to get to Michel. Michel, and I know I'm going to mess up this last name, Tzsfaldet, is, I really messed that one up. Michel runs Tekle Holographics, and it really is a new cutting edge way for the toy industry and every other industry to start thinking about not just showcasing their products, but creating them. So Michel, why don't you tell us about Holographics?
Hi, Robin. Thank you for the nice introduction. Yeah, I'm Michel Tzsfaldet from Tekle Holographics. And we're a Dutch-based company that builds holographics. So how we explain it to all the people when they first hear about us is that because they compare us with the holographics from Michael Jackson and from Beatles and all those people, and we tell them that's what they call holographics, but those are 2D images projected on some kind of screen. What we actually do is we build real holographics. So real holodeck from Star Trek or from Iron Man or Princess Leia from Star Wars, where you can actually put your hand through it, put your head through it, actually interact with the holographic. And we built them for social interaction. So I'm a true believer in immersive technology. I have all the VR headsets. I have a HoloLens and a HoloLens too. But what I found was that with most immersive technology, it's you use it by yourself. So you enter a digital world where you connect with the world, but you still do it by yourself. So what we created is something where you can go in with your significant other, your friends, your children, and enter the digital immersive world together. So it's a social immersive experience. And that's actually what makes it so special. We've been working with governments, defense departments, but now moved on to renewable energy companies. Today, I just had a talk with a university for law, a law university, and the first thing I told them was, how could you use holographics? And they convinced me within 5 minutes that there's use cases for them as well. And now we're slowly moving towards the consumer. So what we build is a big room which you can put into your retail store, because retail is still important, and there's less people coming into the inner city. So how do you get them to your store? And we believe that that the experience counts. You should give them something special, something that makes them want to come back more often than just once. So you have to differentiate yourself. And I think holographics can do just that. I think if you have any toy in your store, your Toys R Us or I don't know, and you give them a holographic experience of that toy and they can actually play with their friends, maybe change the colors, change some small bits on their toy, and then get that as an AR from Tom Emrich's company maybe to take back home and show their friends. That's an amazing way to get the customer back into your retail store. I've prepared a little video just because when I tell you I have holographics, I actually need to show you. That's what most people want to see. So let me just share my screen. So this is a little commercial. Again, it's a lot of business use cases on here, but you can also use them for toy manufacturers. So this first thing is our holographic table. You see us already with 3 people. We're just watching the 3D art, the 3D object together, flying around in space, interacting with it, just moving it around. There's a city because we can load in all 3D files from LiDAR scans to point clouds to OBJs and FBX. For the technical people amongst us, anything you can load in, and then you can actually interact with it. So this building could be something from Lego where you together build something nice, and then keep it as a digital asset in your phone or in your app or however companies wants to share it. And that's just the added benefit is that you do it together. That's actually all we want, people to enjoy the digital world in the physical world together. I think that's the big difference that we bring on the table. So what we want to introduce today, I think it's the first time when we talk about it openly, is a new product that we have that was specifically made for stores, and that is this product. I'll pause the video now. This is a 48-foot wall where Holographics comes out about 6 foot out of the wall. You can watch it with your family. You can walk by and just interact with anything you want. 3D content creation is very easy for our systems. I think that was the most important thing that we needed to do, is that we just made sure that no matter what kind of what kind of developer you are, if you develop for Unity, if you develop for Unreal, if you develop with Blender or anything else, we make sure that you can develop for Holographics. So we have a software that you get that no matter what kind of developer you are, you can create your own content, or you can call Jeremy, of course. So what we think we can bring to the table is just a full immersive experience, completely being immersed into a different world, loading in all of Manhattan and then walking through the streets with your friends together, or just jumping into a Ferrari and driving around, getting a new Lego toy, like my son. My son has an AR Lego toy at home, and just play with it in the store, real size, walk around next to Super Mario Lego, and then take it home and then show everybody in AR how you made it personal, how you changed the color on him, how you maybe changed some clothing. And I think that's what we bring to the table.
Take us back to your definition, because the word hologram is used by a lot of people in a lot of ways. Is this a projection that you can walk through, walk around? I know the first clip had glasses that people were using, and the second clip did not. Just give us a little geeked out background on what you're doing.
Yeah, so the way we build our holographics is just, we bend light. So we are able to just produce an image in thin air. The first version of the product which we produced had glasses and a wand, a controller, we call it a magic wand, to interact with the holograms. The newer version, which we just introduced beginning of this year, has haptic feedback gloves, so you can actually feel the things you're touching, and you can actually get it makes it even more immersive. The newest product which we're working on now is we want to bring it to the consumer. So we want to make it a small device that you can just use at home, because right now we have 5 devices now. One of them is a 185-inch TV screen where you can just watch Netflix or anything you want, and then you play PlayStation or Xbox. Press the button and then it's a hologram device, and you can just interact with the hologram. I think that's a pretty cool device. Still a bit expensive for most people, but it's still cool that it's already there, and I think the price will go down soon. But we want to bring it even smaller. We want to make it a monitor, computer, PC screen kind of device. That'll come, I don't think this year, but it'll come soon. We're working on it. And I think that's the future.
The toy industry knows there have been Harry Potter holographic toys. There have been Luke Skywalker, and it was always pricey and not changeable enough. But like you said, when you can start to manipulate the pixels and have an experience.
Yeah, and the funny thing is that most of every other company that says they do holographics, they either have a glass screen where they project it on, or they have like on stages they have a smoke screen, or they have just something they need to project it on. The cool thing with us is we develop our developers. They're allowed to develop for our devices in their free time, so they stay here most nights, and they developed a scary movie game where you just put your head into boxes, and then holographically there's a box there, you see it, but you can put your head in there because there's nothing where we project on, it's just thin air. And then there's a scary the movie from Netflix, I forgot what, The Masks, the new one from Korea. One of those guys is jumping out and starting shooting at you. So the biggest difference is that we just really project in thin air. Whatever you want to do with it, you can do with it. You can walk through it, you can manipulate it, the imagination is just the limit. You can do whatever you want as long as with our technology, because there's no screen in between the digital world and the real world. It's all combined. It's all one.
No, it's great. And to hold that thought, Tom, you have a lot of experience developing for the business community of all different kinds, including the toy community. Do these guys, is your advice to create a roadmap, like where I want to be today, where I want to go, take it step by step, depending on the company? Can you give some of the companies listening here some idea of how to go forward?
Thank you. Well, I think it all starts with your goals, right, and your objectives, and also being very clear on how you want to measure success. I think those things are staples just with any plan. And I think when you're moving into the use of technology, whether that be technology that is, widely available using smartphones like social or smartphone AR, through to more emerging technologies like holograms and virtual worlds and virtual spaces, you still need to have it clear in your mind, what you're trying to achieve and how you're going to measure it. And so that's where I would always start. I think then having that clear in your mind will help you find the right technologies to be successful. If you're looking for scale, then you're most likely going to be tapping into devices that many of your target audience has, like a smartphone, like a computer. And certainly there's a lot of opportunities to leverage technology with those devices. And those devices are not going anywhere anytime soon. While at the same time, what we're hearing, especially from Michel, is that there are headsets coming to the market, whether those headsets are something that a retailer may buy and have special only to their location, or eventually, will be available in the homes of many. Virtual reality head-mounted displays via Meta, formerly Facebook. There are millions of those devices in the homes of families today. And so I think understanding where technology is going is really important. Starting to get learnings within emerging technologies is really important. Utilizing it for PR, utilizing it to drive to physical location. These are really great uses of emerging technology. But not all technology is the same, and certainly technology really can move the needle throughout your marketing funnel. I mean, on our side, we're seeing conversion rates of 18% for rebates in AR experiences, and lift of sales, 400% lift in sales for certain products that are featured within augmented reality. And so I love for the viewer or the listener to take away that while attracting new users with technology is certainly an objective, you can also measure the use of social and AR to drive sales, and that's an important, I think, factor to keep in mind.
Yeah, and I think with you guys on the panel, part of the message to the audience, you don't have to create this all in-house on your own. And you can decide what your core strengths are and augment them, if you will, by people with the expertise. So I think that's the other way the takeaway there. This is measurable. I love the lift numbers that you gave with AR. Michel or Jeremy, do you have something to add sort of from the bit, like what your advice would be just getting started? Jeremy?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, sure. I love what Tom said. And all of that is great. What we try to do, because there are a lot of really smart people out there that can help out on that. We actually don't compete on that. What we try to do is try to get brands to do three things whenever they come to us and ask, what should we do next? We call it a Metaverse strategy, and we break it down into three really simple parts. The first part is that we say you need to get started, you need to get immersed. The second one is you need to appoint ahead. It's very important for all toy manufacturers out there. And the third one is you need to honor your brand. And just really quickly on all three of those points, the first one is we see so many toy companies come to us and they have not gone out and just played. They're in the toy business and they're not going out and playing in immersive technologies. Play with AR, play with virtual reality, go out and just jump into Call of Duty or jump into Roblox, play these types of things, and then get started with something. Don't just play Roblox, build a space. Don't just go out to Horizon Worlds. Actually build a house there. And don't just go out and experience AR. Go out and build one thing in AR and work with any of the vendors, whether it's Seek or
Yeah.
anybody else, for those types of things. The second thing is you have to have a dedicated head. That is almost the single biggest differentiator from brands that we've seen succeed and those that don't. If it's great and it's obvious to put it in marketing, or it's great and it's obvious maybe for you to put it into operations, but it almost never succeeds. It needs to have a dedicated person in your organization that owns immersive and metaverse technologies, and then obviously your organization has the wherewithal to develop the OKRs and objectives and things of that nature for that person. But that's the second thing that we think is really important for you in getting on board. And then the final thing, and this is probably the most important globally, is honoring your brand. We see so many brands out there that are trying to bandwagon, or they see something that's really whistles or very shiny, these bright shiny objects, and then they go out and try to do that because that's the coolest thing, or because some executive said, hey, we're getting behind, we need to go do that. That's fine, but understand you have a brand that could be decades old. It's certainly years old. There's a reason that your customers and those kids or kidults love your brand. Understand what that is, and then when you execute in immersive technology, make sure you honor your brand and its position within that immersive technology. And that's absolutely the most important thing, because if you don't do that, you're going to probably have a subpar product that will potentially tarnish your brand. But more importantly, it's not going to drive the throughput in the real world to justify that marketing spend and effort in the long term.
Right. So every toy company should be thinking about, first of all, a community strategist, an immersive strategist, creating a team who's tasked with this job. And I think the rest, everything you said is kind of circular. Melissa, you're like in the day-to-day of the world of TikTok and YouTube, as so many of Toy Association members are. What do you see as the biggest challenges for both the Toy Association, for kids and adults, for parents? Tell us what you're seeing on your end.
I think what the big challenge is in terms of what we're talking about right now, it also leads back to where we are technologically at the moment. They're the same issues, and so we're looking at protecting children, privacy for children, and already we've seen with creators that we work with who are in the family gaming space, there's been some challenges on Roblox and Minecraft where children have been bullied, or even worse, there's been inappropriate behavior towards children in these immersive worlds like Roblox, and like when you're playing Minecraft, when you're online with strangers. And so that's an area of concern if, as a toy brand, you're going to move into this metaverse. I think you really need to, and I think this goes back to Jeremy saying, somebody, you need to have a head of this, because somebody needs to understand both this world of the metaverse and AR and VR, but also the world of play and children, and what the responsibilities are that toy brands have to children and families in terms of safety. In terms of value, we talk about trying to keep kids away from screens. Is a hologram just another kind of screen? Does AR, it is including, and we talked about this years ago, Robin, when they did start to try, everybody wanted to have an AR component of their toy. There was that year where everywhere I went, they're like, and it connects to an app at Toy Fair. And I was like, well, who wants that? Did anyone ask the kids if they wanted it to connect to an app? And so I think that is a step that the person in charge needs to do before they move into this, is to say, does it make sense in the play pattern of this product or our brand for us to be part of the metaverse? And if so, what does that play pattern look like, and how does it work organically? Because we can't force our kids into this. And we also want to make sure from the parent perspective that we're not creating a situation where we have a child playing physically with a toy, which is what we want. We want that creativity, we want that exploration. And now, boom, they're in some sort of VR thing. And now I've got a screen. And instead of them having a screen, now they've got some sort of, a visor or glasses on. And so I think those are the challenges that the toy industry really has to overcome to jump into the metaverse.
So much to talk about. I mean, interoperability, this idea, if, as a parent, I give you money for your Barbie accessories in the metaverse, you better be able to take them across worlds. And I know, Jeremy, you talked about that, and Roblox
Yes.
is a very good stepping stone right now because there's an in-game currency and parents feel certain comfort. I think this holiday season, every parent I know gave their kids some robots.
Robux.
So I thought parents would have trouble with digital wallets, and they do now because the onboarding is so hard. Really I have to have a MetaMask and an account so my kid can have a sword. But I think we will overcome that. And for Michel, I think one of the things that holograms can do now is in public spaces and make digital art accessible. And then it's just a matter of time before it comes home. So we do have to wrap up, but looking on to 2022, tell me what, from your perspective, what do you see as like one of the most important hurdles we're going to have to get through? Let's start with you, Melissa.
I think the biggest hurdle that we're going to see in my world of influencers is there's a strong push on YouTube to reduce, remove, delete what they consider to be overly promotional or commercial content. And that's kind of all the toy unboxing videos that we've been doing for the last 10 years. And so there's going to be a major shakeup in the way that toy content is allowed to exist and live on YouTube. So that is a hurdle, but at the same time, as that's going on, you've got this TikTok thing. And even though kids under 13 are not supposed to be on TikTok, and that will come home to roost, I don't think it's gonna come to roost in 2022. They're there, and there's so many other places where you can do this in an ethical way.
Yeah, I think TikTok is going to come out with a film-like rating for their videos, and then you'll leave it up to parents. I think that's pretty obvious. And I remember the last time we talked, YouTube Kids was just breaking off from YouTube, and that had great implications for the influencer audience too. So what have we learned? The influencer audience finds their way around.
They do. We find our way, and the kids find us.
That's right. And you do great work. Just saying. So Michel, tell us, what do you see? What do you see happening in 2022 on the holographic side of the world?
I think that our holographic side of the world will become more available for the consumers. I think that people will see it more often in different stores, different retail stores, and will get used to it. I think the biggest change, though, that I see that I think touches all of us this year will be the understanding of the metaverse, because right now everybody just thinks it's what Mark Zuckerberg is saying. But I think even though Decentraland and Candyland and all these other metaverses are really amazing, and I love the way that they're progressing towards something that we can use in our everyday life, I think eventually the metaverse will be a digital twin of the world. I think that's my view on it. Because that will bring down greenhouse and anything else. We don't have to travel as much anymore. It will help in so many different ways. And if you have a digital twin of the complete world, then I think it's time now to invest in it, because it will be the place where people will buy, where people will meet, where people will do most of spend most of their free time in. And I think I heard a week ago, the CEO from Qualcomm, he was on CNBC, and he echoed my vision of the metaverse, a complete digital twin of the world. And they're also racing to make that happen. I think all the big corporations are racing to make that version of the metaverse happen. where there's this complete fluidity between those two worlds, and you can just jump into the one and go into the other and come back to the real world, and that's something I think that we'll be hearing more this year, and where companies have to prepare, and also the toy companies.
Yeah. Tom, I know you have a ton of predictions we can read about, but give us one.
Well, I think now that smartphone augmented reality has been around for a number of years, we're definitely seeing smartphone social AR and smartphone web AR budgets continue to ramp up, and more brands, more marketers getting involved in the use of this. Specifically to 2022, I'm keeping an eye on always on connected packaging. Robin, as you mentioned, the QR codes have definitely been democratized and acclimated within the mainstream. And I feel, and I'm seeing many brands starting to make web-based augmented reality a consistent experience with product, where a QR code leading to an AR experience, whether it is for product education or a digital first companion experience, is starting to become an expected pairing with packaging. And along the same veins, it's also happening on connected TV and broadcast as well, where having a QR code on broadcast paired to an augmented reality experience enables the viewer at home to engage with what they're seeing on the screen. And so I would definitely keep an eye on the combination of AR, web AR, and TV, and web AR and packaging, really again, like bridging that experience between physical and digital, as well as second screen, and bringing that second screen into the home.
Yeah, no, it's great. And it begs a lot, this whole idea about digital twins. To go back to Michel, if you talk to Niantic, their idea of a digital twin world is an overlay on the real world. And so there are going to be a lot of conversations this year. Jeremy, you want the final word on what you're looking at this year?
You bet. Sure. Thank you so much. I'm going to give a couple of predictions really quick here. The first one is that I predict that 2022 will be the year that NFTs become disguised, and companies and brands will then make them useful. And that's this whole Trojan horse concept. Right now, there's a bunch of technology and a bunch of geek talk around NFTs and cryptocurrency and blockchain and things of that nature. 2022, I believe, is finally the year that we actually stop talking about the geek talk around NFTs, and instead brands and toy manufacturers are going to now use those technologies to make them useful and valuable to the brands as well as the customers. The other thing I'm going to predict in 2022 is 3D persistency. And I believe that 2022 is not the year that 3D persistency becomes mainstream. I believe it's the year that toy manufacturers and every other brand needs to start developing a 3D persistency strategy. And what that is putting augmented reality or data, metadata, out in the world so that it is there for others to consume, whether it be via social media or an app or something along those lines. That technology will probably, we're predicting that it becomes mainstream in 2023 or at least 2024. But brands and toy manufacturers need to get your strategy, your technology, your plans put together in 2022. So those are the two things. NFTs will become useful, and 3D persistency now has a use.
We have so much to digest from this, but luckily this is a persistent world here. This video will be available to our audience for a while. And really thank you, Melissa, Michel, Tom, Jeremy, for looking at really different bits of the tech world and how it influences the toy industry, but how it all ties together. Thank you so much for your time, and I'll see you in the next galaxy.
Thanks, Robin.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.